recording now, and here we go.
This is the INKPULP podcast.
Look at that. We stayed consistent this week. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for one more episode of INKPULP Hello, everybody. Welcome for joining us to another episode of INKPULP podcast.
Yeah.
Shawn, your what would you consider the illustrator, designer, comic book artist extraordinaire?
Sure, I'll go
Shawn
with
Crystal.
that. Thank you.
And I'm his sidekick. The
You're
Laverne to his Shirley.
The
Shirley to his Laverne.
Okay.
The Richie Cunningham to his Fonz. I'm gonna make reference to everybody in that era. The Robin, the Adam West, the Burt Ward,
the Mork
Robin,
to your Mindy.
Yeah, the Mork. No, I'm the Mindy. I'm the Mindy to your Mork. The Chrissy Snow to your Jack Tripper.
You don't look like Chrissy.
How are you doing, dude?
I'm good. How are you?
What's news on that side of the world? What's happened since you and I last spoke? Anything new?
I don't think so. It's that weird time of year where it's like everything's almost kind of stopped moving because holidays are approaching and the new year's approaching, and
that's a good observation.
There's not much going on.
I feel the same.
It's a hard time of year for me.
In what sense?
In the sense that, like I always say to I always try and hope that when I hit December, I've made my money for the year and that the slowdown won't affect me.
Mm-hmm.
But
is that not true?
I haven't reached that point yet. But it's also it's a strange time of year where I think no matter what I do, I reflect on where I am and where I want to be. I mean, that's normal for this time of year. The new year's coming up and people are thinking about that, but it's just it's something you can't avoid, I guess.
All right. So what are the things that you're reflecting on? What are some of the things you're catching yourself kind of bopping around in your brain? Sorry, I'm drawing, by the way. If it's not evidently clear and I'm not staring directly at camera, it's not that I don't care about you.
Oh, what are you working on? Is this work stuff, fun stuff?
No. This is fun stuff. This is winding down in the year and seeing if I've still got the chop stuff.
So you're reflecting as well.
Is that a reflection? Yeah, but less in the brain, more about the exercise of actually doing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. It's an exercise.
I'm always curious to see whether or not I can get. So I took an image that I did, and what the tag on here says, 2007.
Yeah, I saw you post another one you just redid.
Mm-hmm. I'm just taking that one to a finish because one of the things that I'm catching myself doing this where I'm like, oh, I'm not finishing anything because I only have so much time, right?
Yeah.
And there's obviously there's fun in that. Sometimes you do what you can before the evening winds down. You got to go put your head on your pillow, right? But I wanted to take a particular one to a finish. If for nothing else than to say, hey, that one's done. I don't have to think about that anymore, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, trust me, I've got a fucking mountain of things I want to do that are started that I can't finish.
Yeah. So you know where I'm coming from. This one I'm taking to a finish, and I feel like I'm almost there. Actually, one of the, I would say the most interesting challenges is like, I haven't had to paint a full-on environment in a while, like sort of a compositional element of an environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this was nice. It was a nice change of pace for me. I don't know if I did these fucking clouds well, but whatever. I might not even use them. Yeah. I am
on your iPad Pro.
On my iPad Pro, buddy.
Well,
so yeah, I'm just in touch-up mode now.
Oh, that's
I
good.
decided to do this the freaking hard way.
Yeah, I like to do that to myself.
Yeah, for no good reason other than there's no freaking future planning. you know?
I always have a reason for why I'm doing it the hard way.
There is?
Or I should say I always justify why I'm doing it the hard way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't have a good reason. I
I didn't say
could've
good reason.
planned this. Oh, okay.
I create a reason.
Okay, what were we talking about? Yeah, so this was pretty much my give myself an opportunity to breathe exercise, give myself a chance to see if I've, leveled up in my rendering chops exercise because the previous one, if we were talking about the same one, it's the Street Fighter image, right?
Right, yes, that's the one I saw.
With Cammy and Chun-Li,
Yeah.
Sakura. And I wanted to put myself through the paces of like, have I improved since 2007? And also
Mm.
I don't remember like if we were to look at it objectively, right? Just like a technical skill wise, I think there's a lot of gain here, right? But as far as I gotta say, Shawn, I
What?
remember 2007 being a very, very fun time for me artistically.
Why is that?
Because I was just having fun.
But why do you think you're not now or not having as much fun now?
I'm having fun now again, and that's what it reminded me of. That's the reason
Oh,
why I
you're
was
saying
like,
there was a gap in there where you
"Oh,
weren't
yeah.
having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
where drawing I had effectively reached the my personal interest, I reached its limit when it came to, like, doing this fan arty kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because 'Cause I'd done so much of it.
Yeah,
Remember,
you
I'd done
have. You
so
really
much
have.
of
I
fan
mean,
art, like,
we all do it, but you do it a lot more. I mean, you're just so prolific. You're always doing it.
it was a good way to sort of, like, exercise all those things that I wasn't able to draw for a living, right? Because nobody would hire me to draw them, and I said, "Screw it, I'll just draw it on my own." So, fast
Right.
forward however
Right.
many sketchbooks later, however many original images sold later, right?
Mhm.
I got it out of my system, and I said, "Alright, I'm done with that," and I couldn't be bothered to pick up, to pick it up again. I wasn't interested in drawing one more freaking Captain America, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, I
but that
don't
was a
blame
little
you.
bit, that was a little bit, and then I came back to it again just now.
What? Why? Like, what
I don't
changed?
know. I think it was because no, I know why. Because I wanted to see whether or not I could render as well as or as better than I did,
Yeah.
right? And lo and behold, not only objectively, in my opinion, can I do it better, like, I have a better understanding of why like, I'm not depending on the filter that I was using so almost exclusively back then, so I was heavy-handed with that
What
noise
filter were you
filter.
using?
Oh, it was a noise filter on Photoshop, and it added a little bit of pizzazz to a relatively, underwhelming piece of work when it came to, technical achievement.
Was it just texture it added?
Uh-huh, mhm.
Mm.
It's really cheap. It's really shitty. And yet, um, yeah, I was like now I look at things and I'm all like, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm rendering better," but also in the midst of all of this, I'm having fun again.
Well, that's the important thing. I really think
Yeah.
that's. I mean, if anything, I'm just more and more of the school of thought. Art, art is about the creation, not the piece that you finished. And if
Hmm.
we can just find joy in the act of creating, then
Yeah,
I
people
mean, every piece serves as a like what you're doing now is a litmus test of, what you need, where you'd like to improve, and where you're like what you're unhappy with and what you are happy with, and how you want to push
Mhm,
forward from
mhm,
there. That's what a final
mhm.
piece is. But the joy comes in the creating it. I'd imagine mostly.
I'll be honest with you, the final piece is almost boring. I just wanna take it to a finish because I wanna say I took it to a finish, but ultimately,
Yeah,
the final piece isn't an indicative of the joy that I experienced while I was drawing it, right?
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah, this is almost not it's not a chore, but it's almost an afterthought, you know? I
Mm-hmm.
just wanna make sure that it works altogether,
Sure,
um,
sure.
but not necessarily because, you know, it's the part that I found the most enjoying in that I found the most enjoyment in.
So earlier on, you asked how I was doing. There
Yeah.
was a question. You
Yeah,
asked how I
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing, and then I said it's the end of the year, time reflection.
Mhm.
And I was saying I'm always trying to hit December.
Yeah, what's
You
going
know,
on there? Explain that to me.
I don't know. I'm trying to
Explain
figure it out.
yourself.
There's a lot going on in my head. I'm finding that a lot of old emotions are surfacing. I don't know why.
Recently?
Yeah, like over the past couple
Just
weeks.
just bury them, dude. Just bury them deep
I
inside.
thought
Never talk
I
about
thought I
them
grew
again.
past them.
Right, right. No, just shove
But
them
I
down with a
think I do
shovel.
know why. I think because
Okay.
I'm here in December again with just struggling to make it through this month, and it's just stirring up all the bad
Mm,
shit, and
okay.
I just wanna get past it. I'm just so tired of it.
But is it because the goals that you set up for yourself at the beginning of the year, you set up goals for yourself, right? I suspect.
Definitely.
You're right. Okay. So is it because you have not met those goals? You've not surpassed them, or what is it?
Yeah, 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 that's probably yeah,
Really?
you well, I mean, like, I don't set extravagant goals.
What are you talking about? Then what was the goal? Are you at liberty? Do you feel comfortable talking about
Sure,
what those
sure.
goals
I
were?
give myself an amount. I like just financially speaking, I give myself an amount I'd like to bring in that year, and the amount is really not much more than what's needed to be made.
Mhm, mhm.
Or I should say, the amount is like, oh, this would be a comfortable way to live.
Sure, sure. That means
Not a lot of stress.
as much drugs as you could your heart desires, right?
Totally, totally.
You're a
But
total
I've never
pothead.
met that amount, and I'm still
Really?
and I think the amount I do bring in still makes me feel pretty shitty.
Really?
I think that's
The hell,
probably
Shawn?
what do you what? I
Okay,
just
I'll put it to you like this, just as a point of reference. And it's not to say, hey, feel good because people feel bad. That's not the angle that I'm taking with this. Okay, so stand by because I'm gonna need to concentrate on this line so I don't fuck it up. Here we go. One, two, three. All right, so here's what I want you to pay attention to.
okay.
In our field, if you consider to be comic books to be our field, right? There are people out there right now who are currently working for one of the two, if not both of the biggest publishers that of our industry. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the thing, they're not making as much money as you. How fucking sobering
True.
is that?
You were
Right?
right. You're and
For,
that was me, and that was me. And so,
yeah.
you're right in that now that I'm not really working for them, although I am indirectly a little bit now, but that's a different story. Um,
Yep.
I am making as much as I did then.
See?
So that
But
which is great, which is great. But I'm still barely getting by. So that's the
for
hard
sure.
part.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I
the
mean, I
hard
want to contextualize like rather than going like, well, obviously there's no getting around the fact that hey, you need to make money because you got to put food on the table, you got a family, right? But
Mhm.
also consider the difference between the struggle that you were experiencing back in the day, which is at somebody else's beck and call, right? The liberty and the freedom that you're experiencing now.
Truth.
If there are two versions of struggle when it comes to like meeting an annual financial goal, I
Mhm.
would rather do the version that you're going through
No
than the
doubt.
previous one that you were going through, which was like, oh man, nobody's calling me back, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
You know what
no
I mean?
doubt,
The
no doubt.
whole rigmarole, you know?
Right, right, right,
Now
right.
you're like, I don't need anybody to fucking call me back. You know, I can struggle on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
true.
that's awesome. I'll take that any day. So if
I
there's a
yes,
silver lining, if there's
that's
a
true.
takeaway,
That's true.
right? You are no
That's true.
longer under the yoke of the never-ending fucking deadline, like weird, disgusting hobnobbing and
Yes, I'm no longer
elbow,
part of
elbow,
that
blah blah
ugly,
blah.
ugly shit.
Yeah, just the disgusting extra business that is comics.
Mhm. That
So
is our
I'm
industry.
so yeah, I'm so freaking proud of you. Number one,
Thank you.
and number two, shut up already. You know what I mean? You're doing great. Not as great as ideally what's in your head, but if you take a two steps back, you are doing better than some of these guys working in the mainstream comic book industry, and that says so much. Not
Yeah.
just of the industry, but of your personal growth, where you said, "Listen, I have a choice here, right? I can either continue struggling while I'm working for somebody else, right?
Mhm.
Or I can go and struggle as I'm working for myself." And lo and behold, you're doing better then.
Yeah, yeah, and I
It's pretty
just
fucking
I
awesome.
wanna be able to see the things I build do better.
Sure,
That's
sure.
like, I am so busy all day, every day,
Yeah,
like, keeping everything going,
yeah.
but I'm not getting the return that I won't say need, but
Mhm.
it's close to need,
Yeah,
but not getting the
yeah.
return that would make it, more manageable, I guess, to handle.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's moving along, Shawn, and one of the reasons why I have high hopes for it, right? And I know you can't go to the fucking local grocery and buy things on hope, but there is something to be said about no person that has ever achieved a level of status and success, right? I don't know of anyone who's ever gotten into that position without going through the trials and tribulations that you're going through.
True.
So very few of them came automatically, and they're the rare
Oh,
exception and
for
not the
sure.
example, right? So take heart in the fact that, because it's not sort of like, because it's all time consuming, right? Because it's so, all day, every hour, every minute. What's great is that that's exactly what it needs. You know what I
And
mean?
that's what I'm giving it. Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's
you're
the
right.
and I think
You
that's the reason why these dum-dums, I say generally dum-dums, like people who never strike out on their own, right? Who are risk averse to doing it because they realize the commitment that you're talking about, or at least
absolutely,
they get in spitting
absolutely.
distance of it, or like in, smelling distance of it, so to speak,
Yeah.
and they realize
No,
it's not for them, you
yeah,
know?
I'm well aware that, like, how hard this is to do. It's made me like, I used to, like, I guess I was more judgmental of people who didn't go for it this way
Mhm.
before, and now that being in it, I'm like, "This is really not for everyone.
Yep.
This is really for
Yep.
very few."
Yes,
This is a
absolutely.
very, challenging way to go, but the rewards, I'd imagine, are incredible
Well, that's
when
the
you hit
thing.
them.
That's the best part is that you can imagine the rewards, right?
Yeah,
You're actually moving towards those rewards. Some people barely move into how am I going to start this? They're not even they're like just barely fantasizing about what the end goal looks like, you
for
know?
sure, for sure,
Um
and look, I've been doing really well. I've been
mhm.
kind of blindsided by all this, like, kind of anger and resentment and sadness bubbling up in me. I've been feeling very good for most of the year, so for this to be happening, it's taking a lot of work to calm it down, I
You can
guess.
say it. Drugs. You can say drugs.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a drug for this, but yeah. Well, there are, I just won't go there.
Right, right.
I
My
don't
opinion,
I'm
Sean,
not
you're
that
doing just fine, right?
what?
Yeah, I said in my opinion, you're doing just fine. I think you're experiencing exactly what you need to experience, the
Yeah,
stage that you're experiencing it in.
you're right. You're very right,
Um,
Sh
there's always going to be like, there's this one guy, I can't remember how I ran across this video. And for the life of me, I can't even tell you the person's name, but he was doing a talk in front of like an entrepreneurial conference, right?
Sure.
And he was saying he decided to document his recent venture into his business. Now he's a multimillionaire who was in the gym industry. The guys who open up gyms and then move,
Right,
the
right.
franchising of that, right? So he's a millionaire there, right? But
Mhm.
then he decided he wanted to try something else, and for sure it'll come back to me what it was he decided to try. But one of the things that he decided to do this time around was he wanted to document what it would take for him to get from where he is, in regards to this new venture, to where he ends up going. And the reason why is like, wouldn't it have been great to have somebody like a Jeff Bezos or one of these really, these exemplary people when it comes to like wealth and finance and you know what I mean, that in
Right,
business in general, right?
right.
Effectively, this elite group of super successful entrepreneurs, the one that people are like hating on just for the sake of because they can afford countries, small islands, whatever. So like he goes, wouldn't it be an amazing opportunity to if Jeff Bezos had done something like that, like catalog and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
capture, like, oh, this, it's month 6. I almost had, like I almost had to sell the business again. Like
Right.
I almost
Right.
had to quit again.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think that's the thing that people never take into account, how tough anything is at the very, very beginning, because it inherently is tough, right?
Sure.
Short of a few instances where I can go like, oh, that's because you belong to a very successful sort of like, success is almost built into your family, right? This
Right.
guy who what's his name again? Who's this guy that just lost like $23 billion on XTZ on his crypto?
Oh, that guy.
Right.
I just heard
If you
about
take
that
a
guy
look at his
recently.
pedigree, like his family sets him up to be super successful.
Yeah.
They're well connected. Those are the kinds of people I'm talking about. Generally, people who come up with their own sort of like jam business or whatever the hell
Yeah.
to the point where it becomes sustainable, and now that you're known for people who open up their own wineries.
Yeah.
Those kind of like you and your instruction school efforts, right? There's always a moment where you're like, this is the toughest fucking thing I've ever done in my life,
Sure. Sure.
right?
No doubt. I mean, I'm trying to do it with instruction. I'm trying to do it with my art. I'm trying to do it. I mean, I've created a bunch of things that I'm trying to that I'm working
Yeah,
to build up.
yeah. Now it is to say, I think if you weren't struggling, I'd be more worried. Maybe a lot
Sure.
easier. Obviously,
Yeah.
we'd be having we'd be having a different conversation right now. But
Totally.
I think if it was just like super easy street, I think there'd be something there, that component of like the majority of successful business ventures always come from this place of not necessarily like 100% struggling, but like it gives you a moment of pause, like Jesus, it's taking up all my time. And
Hmm.
yet, with every one of those things that I've ever read or listened to by way of audiobooks, it's not, successful people all have this Venn diagram of traits that got them there.
Right.
One of which is like this ultra high, uh, uh, borderline OCD level of detail of attention, where they
Hmm.
have to be involved in the thing that they're doing, right? They're really bought in that they're the only people who can do that thing and make it successful, right? And I think you're there.
Yeah, I'm definitely there. I'm
Yeah.
definitely there. Um, yeah, yeah. So, but like I said, I've been well. Speaking of books, I just started. This led me to a new book I just heard about, so I'm listening to it now. I forget what it's called. It's by Deepak Chopra. It's the seven stage. I don't want to say stages seven. Maybe it's seven stages. Something of success. But he's
Hmm.
not talking about success how I think I always looked at success, like just meaning like, oh, I'm wealthy, I'm successful. Like, no, no, no.
Sure.
It's much,
Sure.
much bigger than that. And it's more about I don't know if this is the right word, spiritual level of success or a
Okay.
um, Eastern look at success. Maybe is a better way to
An
put it.
Eastern philosophy in defining success. Is that what you're trying
Yeah,
to say?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Uh-huh.
I just started it, but I really liked what it said, and it gave me an idea in the first 15 minutes that I've been using today that I'm putting to use. It's going to take some time for it to become more natural, but yeah, I'm working on that.
It's always that though, man. I was just talking to somebody the other day, just as recently. Oh no, it was last night. I was talking to them. It was the guy who runs Iconic Comics, right? And we were
Mhm.
talking about the business of distribution and what it takes to make sure that the bars that we set up for ourselves are the bars that we continue to meet because it's a bar of excellence that nobody else seems to exhibit,
Right,
right? They
right.
look at different metrics of what's working, right? They look at the sprint version of success, which is like almost immediate, almost sort of like within arm's reach, right? What they
Hmm.
don't look at is the marathon version of it,
Right, right.
right? Like especially in self-publishing, and especially in distribution, and especially in sort of like the independent publishing game, you know? It
Sure.
takes a different, the guys and I from Iconic have set up a different metric of success than I think most people do in the crowdfunding space, or in the independent publishing space, because we have to, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to take a look at and reflect on that as well. That
Sure.
conversation was pretty extended.
Sure. Sure, sure. You know what? I think also another thing that's making it bubble up is I haven't drawn a comic in a long time, and I mean
Are you drawing a
everything
comic
I'm
now?
what?
Are you drawing a comic now?
No, no, that's what I mean is everything I'm doing is to put me in a place where I can afford to draw my comics.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm really getting frustrated with not being able to draw comics right now, and I'm trying to make resolve with that. I mean, I
I'll say
miss
this,
it.
Shawn. Comics are for suckers.
Well,
It is. It's really for dum dums, like don't.
well, yeah, okay, but still, I love doing it. I like the reading art that like I like that medium. I love that medium and want to make
Yeah,
stories
you
with drawings.
definitely are in it for like the painful version of the experience, man. Nobody in
What
their
do you
right
mean?
mind draws comics.
Well, you do. Don't.
Especially, I just
Why do
like
you do it?
that's the qualifier, right? Nobody in their right mind, you
Okay,
know?
so I'm not my right mind.
I'm
I
I
think
am
we've
I am
established that.
I'm admitting that I am not in my right mind, you
Mhm.
know? But I'll say this, it's been stupid fun.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want that back. I
You
miss
want
that.
that
But
fun? Find fun someplace else.
well, I
Listen.
am. Look, I'm doing these paintings for this Marvel Snap game, and I am enjoying that.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
but
good.
it's I just I guess what I miss is having more time to really just be involved in creating. It's it's uh
Ah,
it's it's not a little bit that I have time to create, but it's not a lot.
right.
So that I think that gets me.
Is it a matter of your daily planning then? Are you using your time wisely?
Yes. Oh,
And I
definitely,
don't think you are.
definitely. I am. I mean, I that's one thing I've been working on a lot this year. I'm not saying there's not any room for improvement, but yes, I am prioritizing well, and I'm getting everything done when it needs to get done. It's just that there's a lot of time. Like I look forward to a time where these hustles I've built are working and need maintenance, not building, so they don't
Mm.
require as much from me, but they also
Mhm.
return a lot more to me than they are now.
Sure. Sure.
So
Listen, pal, you
it's
have me as a resource. You can always reach out to me for anything. I'll
I
give you the
appreciate that.
download of what I've come to learn. And sometimes it might not be immediately applicable to you, but it's better than going out there alone and going like, well, I don't know where to start with this. I think that's one of the key things that one of the key things that I needed to, by the way, there's nothing wrong with just going out and saying like, screw it, I'm going to learn this as I go. As a matter of fact, that kind of entrepreneurial spirit is probably what's going to it help inherently builds in confidence. It inherently builds in like tenacity and resilience, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I did definitely start ink pulp instruction under that. I'll figure it
Yeah,
out as I
that's
go.
awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Some people just kind of like, you know, how would you say it? Like they kind of like over plan themselves into
Yeah,
complete stasis, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah, yeah.
they don't move at all. So I think
Yes.
it's well worth experiencing what it means to understand what the dark unlit paths are in front of you. Go experience them, because nothing. I don't think, unless you really did it incorrectly, right? Unless you built in 0% failsafe, there's nothing out there that's so catastrophic that you can't walk your way back from it, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, I think like one of the key things that I decided why comics suddenly became like the thing that I wanted to do on top of everything else, and that I always wanted to draw I always wanted to have my own creator own book. It was because like I wanted to see, similar to you, if it was fun again. And it started to seem like it was fun, but I
Mhm,
wasn't 100% sure. And there was
mhm.
really no way to do it. Somebody asked, I think, was it you? No, it was somebody else. Like, how much planning did you do for Arcathena? And the honest to goodness answer is very little. Because
Yeah,
I knew if I planned it too much, oh, I need to know every twist and turn. And there's value to that, by the way, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
if that's the kind of thing that you need to have in place so that you can move forward with confidence with whatever thing that you decide to do, by all means. But for me, I knew myself enough that if I said like, okay, listen, if I end up over planning this stupid thing, like if I try to think of every possible scenario and try to find answers to them, I'm never going to do this, you know? So let
Right,
me just start. And somehow I had enough confidence to be like, I think I'll know what to do if I run into a situation um, that I didn't even know to ask, you know? Now
right,
here's the thing.
right.
I fell under a very fortunate set of circumstances that surrounded me with people who had my better interest and my success in mind, right?
Mhm.
They wanted to help really, really badly. And I think one of the reasons, well, no, I know one of the reasons why they wanted to help is because they saw that I wasn't messing around,
Right.
right? They knew I took it seriously and I did it with earnest, right? So
Sure.
I think that's one of the key things that got me through. Now, it's not to say that's for everybody, right? But it is to say, man, one of the better things that you can do to start and learn is to actually start and learn.
Right.
People are
Truth.
so afraid of that. People are so afraid of like because the failure thing or the not knowing thing is such a huge um, prohibitive for them.
Mhm.
They almost feel like without knowing as much of the answers as possible, this can't possibly be successful unless you change. And here's the counter argument to that. You need to change the criteria for success. Right. It can't be automatically about like dollars and cents. I mean, it can
Right.
be, but it's not going to yield the kind of that's one of the contributing factors of why you're in stasis sometimes,
Why? What do you mean?
because you classified your metric of success as not an immediately attainable one. You have to set goals and sort of like finish lines that are almost within arm's reach until you can start setting those finish lines further and further out from arm's reach.
Right.
Right? You do the little gimme ones because okay, I think I can accomplish this, right? And then
And I've
eventually you build a momentum based on success,
yeah,
based on
well,
that confidence.
that's what I meant earlier. I don't feel like I've set, like, these extravagant goals
Mm.
and, like, my financial goals. I don't think I've really set goals that are extravagant
I think you have,
or
Shawn. I think $50 million right off the bat. I think I saw that piece of
oh,
paper in
that's
front of
not
your desk.
extravagant, man, come on.
50 million up front. You literally put 5M, year one. It's weird a little bit.
I meant 5 monies.
Yeah.
I just need monies.
Five monies. I'd like to have five monies, please, so I can pay for anything.
And, hey,
Awesome.
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, here's something we can talk about too.
Let's go.
Um, I don't know,
Five monies. I love that.
I
You're so stupid. I love it.
dude, I'm trying to avoid this shit online, and it keeps popping up.
What's the shit?
Are you getting bombarded with this AI nonsense now?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I'm so sick of
Bombarded?
people
Is that the word?
complaining. Yeah, it's just every fucking post is like art theft and cyber abuse and like such extreme nonsense. It's just
Jeez,
like
Shawn. Have
I
some empathy, man.
I'm not in a place right now where I have much empathy to throw around. That's the problem.
Oh boy. What do you think? What do you think about the whole thing?
I was never threatened by this.
Uh-huh.
I never thought of it as theft.
Yes.
When I first saw it, I thought to myself, okay, this is like hip hop where the DJ samples songs from other artists and puts
Sure.
them together in a new way
Sure.
to create something new.
Okay. That's what you saw.
That was well, yeah, that was what I saw. So I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And I've seen, like, it seems like the results are getting pretty interesting now. Like, I'm seeing some, like, mid-journey stuff where they're like Wes Anderson Star Wars, and it's like the results are like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool." Or I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Tony Moore posted, like, Hillbilly in Star Wars, and it was like it was interesting stuff.
yeah, sure.
And, I don't know. But then I just saw, like, someone posting about theft and and all the abuse these artists are taking, and that's when I was like, "Abuse?" And I looked
Abuse.
into it a little bit, and
Yeah.
I still
And
have
you
yet
said,
to
fuck your
see
abuse.
evidence of abuse of any kind, but the minute someone says abuse, everyone joins on board, and it's just like I could watch the sheep. Like, at that point, I was just watching all the sheep get anxious because one sheep was anxious.
I
What?
haven't really put it through. There are days when I'm like, fuck it, similar to you. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. You know, I think I saw that Wes Anderson Star Wars thing, and I thought like, whoa, that's pretty dang creative based on word prompts, right?
Mhm,
So, I think what we need to do is decouple the means and the ends, right?
mhm.
The end product, depending on who like gets it, is like deserves the reaction that we went through. I think we took a look at. I've seen a bunch of mid-journey stuff. I've seen a bunch of different AI generated images, and I'm like, holy crap, that looks freaking amazing.
Yeah,
On my best day, I could probably never paint that.
right, right.
However, that's the ends, right? I think the means is where people are taking exception, and to a degree, so do I, right? Um, I saw a post in which the AI was sampling so many different people that it also sampled their signatures. Did you see that?
I just saw that, I think it was this morning I saw that.
Yeah, and I think that in and of itself is like a great snapshot of like there has to be there I think there needs to be guidelines in place and by which okay, so I don't have it like for me if I go and buy how would I? There's not even a purchase. Like if I go and print all the stupid shit that I did do with like, oh, I found this thing, and this thing, and I printed it out and I collaged it myself, right?
Mhm,
All AI does is something similar to that, right?
mhm,
In almost milliseconds. You know what I
mhm.
mean? It scrapes the hell out of the internet visually for visuals, and it slaps it all together, and there it is, right? I think what happens is when people decide that they're going to take that AI art and they're going to go make money with it. They're going to go get some kind of acclamation for it or some kind of acclaim for it because they punched in the right prompts, right?
Mhm.
So my mind is my I'm of two minds. One is like, so what you did was go through Google, or you had a machine go through Google and snip out a bunch of pieces and slap it all together to make the piece of art that you did. And now you're saying I'm the creator of this art because of my prompt, which I think is absolute bullshit, right?
Sure,
Because even the act of printing something out from Google and cutting it up yourself, that still takes a level of creativity.
sure.
You still need to think about like, oh, does this match with the eyes? Does this match with? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 totally.
you still needed to understand like basic you still have a basic foundational understanding of like how to make a piece of artwork just because you have the pieces in front of you.
Mhm.
AI omits all of that. AI does all that work for you, right? So your prompting doesn't make you artistic, you
Right.
know.
I agree.
um so yeah, I think those are the two things that I like whenever I see the argument for and against. I almost want to decouple one or the other. Like I see the piece of art, I think it looks pretty freaking awesome. However, when somebody says, hey, now this piece of art is unique and mine, I did this, you didn't. i'm sorry
Yeah,
that you
I
i'm
guess
sorry that you think you didn't.
right, I guess I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anyone claiming this is my I haven't seen that side of it. I'm not saying it
Oh
doesn't
yeah, dude. I
exist.
mean, they're even fighting among these guys who are doing these AI pieces of art are doing these ridiculous things now where they're saying like, I hate it when people ask me for my prompts. I'm never going to tell you those prompts are mine is what make my images unique and
Mhm.
like that kind of. that elevated level of lacking in self-awareness of
Right,
just
but I
like,
mean, I'm
do you
not
know what you're
threatened by
saying?
that.
You know?
Yeah, I guess I'm not I have no fear in me in terms of being replaced or being stolen from in those regards. I guess I look at it. I've always looked at technological advances this way.
Yeah.
When the camera came along, the painters all freaked out. This is the end of painting. This is the
Mhm,
death of painting.
mhm,
Painting had a lot more practical applications at the time that maybe the camera took away, like photojournalism, for example. Like
sure,
get a picture of the president in, a quick amount of time, and it's the actual president rather than a portrait of the president that
sure.
someone gets paid a lot more money to do and takes more time.
Mhm,
But what did happen? Painting didn't disappear. Painting became more
sure,
specialized. And the
sure.
same thing happened with the advent of when there was the printing press, and then when a more efficient and effective means, the four color process came along, the old printing presses were no longer needed. But what did we get out of that? An art form called printmaking.
Mhm.
Um, so I see a lot of fear. So I don't have that fear. Now there's some ethical questions.
Yes, I think
Sure,
that's
I
the
don't know enough
line.
about that to really wade into it, but I'm really tired of everyone being a victim, playing the victim. I don't have the bandwidth in me to even hear it anymore.
Yeah.
It just
You can
seems we're
you
living
can
in a time
sidestep
where
it, but
people expect to not have any adversity or challenge, and when they do have that, it's deeply upsetting and traumatizing.
yeah.
These when a microaggression traumatizes someone, like, I don't have
That's
time for it. Like,
that's dramatic, Sean. This one in
I'm
specific, actually, in my humble opinion, this one has legs. Because everything that you just said right now is not, it doesn't encompass the entire conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, does a computer, or excuse me, does an AI, um again, it's a bunch of different conversation that you're talking about. One is
right.
like, is it all bad? Like,
And
is
I'm just tired of opening up something to post my artwork and seeing AI is theft over and over, and a bunch of people hopping on and complaining and fear, blah, like, just go do your work. Shut up.
Yeah, well, this is the same sort of knee-jerk reaction into when people were doing NFTs, right? Like
Exactly.
everything
I
is
saw the best tweet today that actually made me laugh. It was like, "Can we just go back to the NFT outrage? I'm tired
yeah,
of the AI outrage."
yeah, for sure. No, I mean that's not, that's funny only because it's so freaking true, right? Like I
But
remember
let me
when
ask you,
NFTs were, yeah.
there's plenty of people in comics, people we know, who when they
Mhm.
have to draw a background, go to
Yeah.
Google it up,
Yeah.
and slap that photo into their page digitally, throw some filters on top of it, and call it a day. Now these people are outraged at AI doing what
Are
they
they?
did.
I would
Well,
hope that they're not because
I've seen direct examples of that, yes, where I just wanna be
okay.
like, "Well, don't you do something similar?" But yeah.
Well, then, yeah, okay, that goes to the lack of mindfulness, right? Like, I don't know. For me, ultimately, it's like I hope that those are the rare exceptions in which somebody has just it's completely lack of self awareness of just like wanting to virtue signal and wanting to be mad because it's the
Yes.
hip thing to be mad about this
Yes.
week, this month, or whatever it is. And if that's the case, I understand your irritation, but I really genuinely believe there's a component of this that deserves, broader conversation.
Sure, well,
Um,
conversation, yes, and I back you on that. I'm not seeing a
um,
conversation.
And I really think that there's part of this that those who are, I know plenty of people in the concept art industry who this has impacted in the
Well,
most
that's
negative way possible,
I wanted
right?
to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So it is affecting, because this is, I mean, really, when we're talking about this stuff, it's really a concept art thing. It seems to be where this is going to affect people the most immediately.
Mhm.
So what's happening in the concept world?
Well,
People are losing
in
jobs to prompt.
some, yeah, yeah, the idea that studios are now going to start ramping down their pre-production pipeline using actual artists and then opting for AI art, right? Because there's just so much out there now,
Mhm, mhm,
is a genuine concern. Now, to your point, who knows if it will actually be a thing that comes to pass, right?
mhm.
But the conversation I think is worth having. Where are you guys getting this? Because when the guys who develop not Midjourney, what's the other one? Oh, I forgot. Anyway, one
I
of
forget
them,
the
right?
names, yeah.
When somebody was asked to do that and said like, what sort of consideration did you guys give to the artists that you were taking some of these images from? And the answer was none. You can understand why these guys got upset, right?
Sure, sure.
So I think there's more of a principle and a morality here that it should be talked about, you know?
Right. No, I agree, I agree. I guess I'm also, but on the other hand, I agree with that, and I don't wanna see people suffering and all that, but on the other hand, it's like my story, my industry shriveled up on me. I had no work coming in, so I was forced to adapt and change, and
Sure.
so that I did. So,
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
is there an element of that here where, like, okay, so I mean, look, there's concept artists I've seen where I look at their work, I'm like, "You're just collaging photos together." Like, okay, so if your job is now gone, well, then grow and adapt.
Sure, sure. I mean, but that is in a way I think those are the ones that it's almost like again, lacking in self-awareness if they are standing there going like, "This thing is taking my job," when you're like, "Well, your job was at one point, as simple as it was, was still took you effort to do, right? So, but now
Right,
this thing is doing what you can do." But
right,
rare are those people, the ones standing up. More often than not, the ones that were standing up are actual luminaries inside the industry,
right.
where, because their art is so coveted and well respected, right? And they
Mhm.
are effectively the concept art industry trendsetters, right?
Right,
Their art is the one that's being put through that's being sampled by these machines or
right.
sampled by this AI. And I think in those cases, again, going back to what version of the conversation are we having about AI? And
Mhm.
if it's a matter of like, oh, they can pretty much plug in, Craig Mullins and whatever thing, Pirates of the Caribbean and blah 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 blah. Like that to me is a little, especially if it's done in lieu of hiring somebody like a Craig Mullins, right?
Sure, but can the
That
computer
to me is line.
but isn't the computer just using what they've already done? Like,
Well, no,
those
because
people will
it
still
never does
create
it.
new and interesting designs. Like, if the
Absolutely, but
computers
it never does it independent of like multiple. That's why the prompts are so dang important, right?
Right,
That's why
right.
something like Star Wars in this style of blah, in the style of what was it again?
Sure. Well, let's use this word. It's an inbreeding machine, right? So inbreeding.
It's an art aggregating machine. That's
All
what
right,
it is.
but let's stick with the inbreeding idea, because inbreeding
Okay.
doesn't lead to a new population. It leads to death and disease and stupid people. So, like, I don't know. Maybe it's a naive way to think, but I'm like, oh, you're just inbreeding, but the fresh new ideas are still the human ones.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I think to your point earlier, and I agree to this point as well, which is like it's so early, and people are just they don't know
Right,
what it
right. Like,
is yet.
I already, like, when I see it, it all looks very samey to me.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like, oh, that, like, you can see a picture and be like, "That's an AI one." It looks good, I'm
Right.
not saying it looks bad, but
Mhm.
it's like it's a very there's not much individuality I've seen,
Mm.
um, in it. I could see how I don't know, I could see how it would be a good tool to use as an idea generator for an artist.
Sure. Yeah,
For
I
like
can
a
see that too.
concept artist, like, let me get some fresh new ideas, and let me get some images, just like we use PhotoRef. Like, if I'm designing a monster, I'm gonna be like,
Mhm.
all right, I want to get some elements of iguana in there and some
Yep. Yeah,
elements of a nautilus in there, and so this kind of does that, and then you could then go to the sketchbook after having these images and build on what's there. I can see that being an actual
for sure. Yeah,
nice
yeah.
use for it.
I don't disagree with that. As a matter of fact, I've seen that. I've seen a bunch of people do go down that route of like, okay, so this is the beginning only for me, but then once I generate it, I'm actually going to go through the trouble of like painting it and rendering it and making it more bespoke to me, my style, my body of work, that kind of a thing. That's
Right,
absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think again, let me go back to my point, which is every time that this conversation comes up, it's so there's so much to like which version of this conversation are we having? You
right.
know?
Mhm.
Like if you're just thinking about it primarily as just like an idea generation tool, okay,
Mhm.
nobody's ever going to argue with that. You know, I wouldn't think so. Whatever. There may be elitist out there that's like, generate your own unique fucking idea. Whatever. Like I don't care. That's now gone so granular. I don't even want to have that conversation.
Right, right, right,
But when
right,
it
right.
comes to just like, the art theft part, that's a different conversation, and it doesn't make it any
Yeah,
less
yeah, that's
legitimate.
what yeah, it's early yeah, I'd like to I guess that's an area that I'd like to see some grounded discussion on, so maybe when
Yeah.
people cool off, we'll get that.
Well, also, do your very best to dismiss all the fucking people who are just like knee jerking
I
into the
Eric, I
latest
am trying to
NPC speaking
mute
points.
and unfollow as many people as I can on a daily basis who just post
Yeah,
shit because I don't wanna see it. I used to like, I just wanna see honestly, when I open Instagram,
yeah,
I wanna see some cool art and
yeah,
some
dude.
big butts, and that's it.
Some
I
big
don't
butts,
want
cool art.
hmm?
Big butts, cool art. That's what you're into Instagram for.
That's my Instagram. Can I
Yeah.
just
Well,
have that?
there's a way to curate that, Sean.
I'm trying, man, I'm
That's not freaking impossible.
no. Alright,
No,
well
AI doesn't. If you're asking me, does AI bother me? I'm like, not really, but it doesn't impact me right now. However, it is not to say that it is never going to impact me, you know? It is not to say
right,
that it's
but
never going to be the thing in my industry, in the industry that I work in, the industry that we all work in, that
mhm,
it's going to impact people. People often, again, I look at the conversations online right now. It's like, tell me this doesn't look cool. And it's like, fuck yeah, it looks cool.
yeah,
But that's the ends, right?
mhm,
What happened in the means part, right? And that's rare. Some people who are just like, I'm for AI, they never talk about the means, or
right,
they excuse themselves of the means because it's just so cool at the ends part, right?
right, right. Facts. Big facts. Um,
Oh boy.
so so next week we've got Matteo coming,
We do have Matteo coming.
and
But
I
did you
very
tell him to calm his ass down? Did you tell him like, dude, it's a chill show. You don't have to be on all the time. Because I feel like he always has something to prove, that guy. You know? Doesn't he? Doesn't it feel like that sometimes, that guy?
that he has something to prove?
Like he always wants to be the smartest guy in the room, and nobody's ever going to believe that. So I don't understand. Like he always feels like he's got to keep up with people, or like, you know what I mean? Like he's got to say something that like,
Is this
oh,
your way of
really that's really a fucking sign of your intelligence, dude. Like,
It's gonna be fun. But I do wanna have the conversation that we talked about having with him, when he hit that pivot, that turn where, artistically, where he just took
yeah,
off.
yeah.
I do wanna have that, and I would
See, here's
love
the thing. As I posed that question out loud, as I said it the other day, right?
yeah.
It kind of it kind of implies that he is aware, or he made note of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, well,
or
maybe he didn't.
if he's bought into the idea that he's had himself an artistic turn for the better.
Well, that's what
Because
yeah,
what if he
that's the
hasn't?
conversation I wanna have.
What if he
Are you
hasn't?
aware of it?
What if he's just a stupid piece of shit and
Well,
he's
he is
not even
Mateo.
self-aware enough to be
He's not bright. We're talking about a very like a 10-watt light bulb
like
here.
he's a dull LED.
He's an LED.
He's a dull LED light bulb, which is almost impossible by any definition. And no, he does not have much going on upstairs. And I'm glad that he's coming so he can defend himself from
And
dum-dums like
you
us.
got me thinking about Kevin Nolan a lot along those lines. I've been digging through
You think
Kevin
Kevin
Nolan
Nolan's a
stuff.
dum-dum?
No, 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 along the lines of like when he like where did, like, you talked about it being that Outsiders annual, that Batman the Outsiders annual.
For me, it is. It's not
Yeah.
to say that it's for you, right?
Um, I'm not disagreeing with you on it. I want to do more of a deep dive. I remember there being, um, I think it was an annual. It was maybe it was a short story. He did a Man Bat short story
Okay.
where he went really tough on it, like very simple. He didn't do a lot of rendering like he normally does, and I think after that there was a shift.
Like what do you mean?
I think that really he learned a lot in doing that.
Yeah. You think so? Okay.
I think so, and then that was around the time of that Batman Outsiders annual. I
Where
want
he
to know
went
which
like
one came
ultra
from.
simple, and then you think that based on ultra simple, he's
I
like,
think it gave
I
him a
got it.
lot of answers.
Really? Let's have him on.
I would love to. You're
Can we just
Kevin
call
knows
Kevin
you.
Nolan?
What's that?
Can we just call? What do you? What is it? 1-800 Kevin Nolan. What
Mhm.
do you call?
Kevin Nolan at kevinnolan.com. I don't know.
Watch that be the fucking actual email, dude. I would laugh my laugh off.
I don't think he has a website. I think I
Watch
know.
that. Watch
No,
that be the fucking
he's gonna
email.
get emails. When are you going on the Inkpul pod what is the Inkpul podcast? Mignola too. I mean, there's another one.
Is it Mike Mignola at Mike
Yeah,
Mignola.com?
Mike Mignola at mikemignola.com.
That can't be true. I refuse to believe that
is
there
there
is
is
a
there a
Mignola.com.
no, where do you see his like artistic like we need a term for this. Oh, I don't know.
You're trying to think of a term.
Yeah, awakening. No, it's not awakening.
Mm.
Anyways, is
Is it
there
Renaissance?
like
Mm.
like Mignola? There like early on, there's a lot of like Frazetta and Fantasy Illustrator influence, and a lot of George Bridgman in the work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. If you look at like, if you take a look at his stuff on, what was that? The one where he's like in the Savage Land. You remember that?
yeah, Wolverine and the Savage Land. Yeah, Walt wrote
Yeah.
that.
And he had like, I like the fact that you're on first search name basis with Walt Simonson.
Well,
Like Walt.
Eric, I saw the cover to that in Walt's
As in
bathroom.
like, were you just hanging around Walt Simonson's house?
I was in his house.
All right. So anyway, fucking asshole. Anyway, um, so like that book, what that Mignola, I think for me, the thing that made me go like, who the fuck is this guy? Number one, my intro to him was when he did a fill-in for X-Force that Rob Liefeld laid out,
Yeah, I
right?
remember that. I remember
But
that.
the thing that made me go like, what is this? Is that Aliens book?
The one that Kevin Nolan inked.
Was it Kevin Nolan?
Yeah, the Salvation, Alien Salvation.
Salvation. I was like, what is this book?
That was Kevin
And that
Nolan
Kevin
inking that.
Nolan wasn't doing heavy duty Kevin Nolan
He
stuff,
never does a Mignola. He's
right?
very true to
I mean,
Mignola.
he's
Yeah,
very sort of like, heavy handed when it came to like when he did it on Casada or whatever, right?
yeah, yeah,
But when
yeah.
it came to
Totally.
like Mignola, he he doesn't go hardcore Kevin Nolan when he
Mm-mm.
inks him, you know?
It wouldn't work.
Well, who knows? You're not Kevin Nolan. What the hell, Shawn?
No, but I when I think of Mignola, I think of like very very graphic, black, pure white, no gray. Kevin
Yeah, no
Nolan
cross,
exists.
not too much cross hatching in
Right,
there.
right. So Kevin Nolan's very gray. I mean, there's a lot of black, there's a lot of white, but there's a lot of gray in there too. A lot of cross hatching and fine line work.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of, Kevin Nolan does a lot of volume definition,
right.
like
Whereas Mignola's
a
just
lot.
graphic,
Yep.
very graphic.
Yep. He blocks in a plane and calls it a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
All right.
um,
Matteo first, though. And like I said, can you please just have him tone down his ego?
Eric, I don't think you can put the man in a box.
All right. Listen, I know he's very popular because of Mr. Freeze or whatever.
Oh, did you get the email today too?
Well, no. What do you do?
No, Jason's email. He's got a
No.
few pages left. He said on an email blast.
No, I don't care.
The Batman Mr. Freeze.
I saw that book, and I want to be able to talk to him, honestly and open about that book because I hate the way that book looks.
You don't hate it.
I don't hate it, but I like,
You feel like it was not a step forward.
I don't. I know why. I just want to talk to him about it. I don't
Okay.
want to like. It's not coming from a place of like, you're so stupid. But maybe is. Maybe it is. Let me think about it. But like,
Okay. Well,
I had
I'm
just
excited to hear this conversation go down.
because like I think Matteo's high water mark where I'm like, he's never gonna outdo this work.
Is
On
the
his best
Spies?
day, yeah.
Yeah, that was
He's
incredible.
never gonna outdo that book. He everything is like he should just start doing hard drugs from here.
But dude, I was looking at that freeze stuff. I was blown the fuck away.
That's why I want to have this conversation. I
Okay.
want to have the conversation with Maddie and be like, hey man, you know I'm a huge fan of your work, and if I could afford to fucking pay you, I would. What was it that you did with King of Spies where you said, I think I want to try something different? You know, I think, but I mean, I suspect it's gonna be like, I just want to try new things. Every artist
And he has said that every book he does,
right.
he's
Every
trying.
artist should have that opportunity for growth. Every artist should have that opportunity for like, experimentation and just seeing what works and what feels good. Shit. Like it's the artists who don't put that into their toolkit that make me go like, oh, you sad sack, start the fucking egg timer on your career, you know? Um,
Jesus Christ.
but why that change? I understand the necessity, the almost like this, I just want to try it, right? What
Mhm.
led to because there are conscious choices that, I mean, it'd be interesting if you said, no, I'm thinking about it, the very Canete answer, right? But like, what was the thing that made him go like, why this level of simple?
On King of Spies?
No, King of Spies was like
I know, I'm fucking with you.
Matteo is like Matteo and King of Spies is like Tyson at his fucking peak.
Like the Tyson Holmes, the 90-second knockout.
Yeah, just like coming in with a terry cloth towel on his head, no
Dude.
music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
King of
let's end
Spies
it
is for
there.
me.
There was
You know?
nothing like watching those Tyson fights live in the heyday. I've
Mhm.
never seen it was like a tiger entering the ring. I've
Yeah.
never seen
It's
anything like it.
all it's all you could do to be like, you felt so bad for the other guy. And I feel like sometimes, when I see friends of mine who are artists and they are, we get a chance. The difference is like when we're talking about people like Kevin Nolan, when we're talking about people like Adam Hughes and blah blah blah. We know them. They're very kind to us. They're very sort of accommodating and very friendly. And at times that we have an opportunity to hang out with them, but by no means are we like hanging out and having drinks with them and staying at their place. But
Right.
in Mateo's case, he's one of those guys,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
able to call him up just as we did now and be like, hey, come and hang out in this stupid podcast with us, come and
Right.
hang out. And, we all stay in the same room from year to year, depending on what show it is, right?
Right.
So like,
Right.
it's so different to be like, to be able to talk to somebody about their craft and be like, dude, you were Tyson. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
at one point you were Tyson. Why did you opt for Tyson, near the end? Just kidding.
Why are you biting people's ears off now?
That'd be a good conversation to have. All right, let's end
All
it
right,
there.
cool. Sounds good.
Let's do this thing where I press the button. Here we go.
This is the INKPULP podcast. This is the INKPULP podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.